Welcome to another deep dive. This time we're looking into this really interesting company, SG Mart Ltd.
Yeah, they're doing some really interesting
They're
things.
based in India, and they're trying to completely shake up the construction materials market over there. And I think this is going to be really relevant to a lot of our listeners.
Yeah, definitely. I think so too. And
We've been seeing a lot of these types of companies popping up, into different industries, and I'm curious to kind of see what they're doing and what their strategy is. So we've got a few different sources to guide us through this deep dive.
okay, cool. Yeah.
So we've got SG Mart's filings to the Bombay Stock Exchange.
hmm
We also have their investor presentation.
hmm
And then we have a set of discussion questions just to kind of keep us on track and make sure that we're hitting all the important points.
Yeah.
So let's just jump right in. I guess, what's kind of the overview of this company? What exactly are they doing?
Well, so SG Mart is operating in India's construction material market, which is absolutely massive. It's like a 6 trillion rupee market.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's huge.
I mean, that's like, what, 4 times the size of the entire U.S. economy?
Yeah, something like that.
So, I mean, clearly there's a lot of opportunity there for a company that can come in and really disrupt things.
Right.
So what is SG Mart's business model? I mean, how are they trying to tap into that massive market?
So they're basically a B2B marketplace. They're connecting manufacturers of construction materials like,
Okay.
steel fixtures, fittings, tiles.
Mm-hmm.
And they're connecting them to buyers like traders, contractors, developers. And you could say they're kind of like the Amazon of construction materials in India.
Okay, so that's interesting. So they're like a platform.
Exactly.
They're not actually like making the materials
Wait,
themselves.
not manufacturing the materials themselves. They're just facilitating the transactions.
Right, right. Okay, so what aspects of Amazon's strategy do you think are relevant to SG Mart? I mean, obviously they're not selling books and electronics.
Right, of course.
Yeah.
But there are some parallels, I think.
Yeah.
Like Amazon, they're really focused on creating a convenient and efficient platform
Okay.
for buyers to find a wide range of products, compare prices, and place orders really easily. They're also focusing on building a strong logistics network
Mm-hmm.
to ensure timely delivery, like Amazon's Prime service.
Okay, so it's not just about like being the online marketplace. It's about like the whole ecosystem.
Exactly. It's about creating that whole ecosystem.
Yeah, very cool.
Yep.
So let's talk about how they've been doing like financially.
Yeah.
Their Q3 FY25 results
Yeah.
show some pretty impressive growth, I think, right?
Yeah, so according to their filings with the Bombay Stock Exchange,
Yeah.
their revenue is up 80% year over year, hitting 13.5 billion.
Wow.
Yeah. And their profit also surged by 63% year over year.
Seems like they're killing it.
Yeah, it does look really good on the surface, but
There's always a
there's always a but. But while year over year growth looks great,
right.
revenue actually dipped 26% compared to the previous quarter.
Ooh.
Yeah. So,
Okay, so that's a significant drop
yeah, it's something we need to dig into a little deeper.
for sure.
Yeah.
What do you think is behind this drop?
Well, their investor presentation suggests that
Okay.
they are in a period of rapid expansion
Mhm.
and they're onboarding a lot of new customers and suppliers. And remember, their business model does involve holding some inventory.
Okay,
Big
so
thing.
as they expand, they need more cash on hand,
Oh,
basically.
basically, they need more working capital, and that can temporarily impact cash flow.
Okay,
Yeah.
for those of us who aren't finance wizards, what exactly does working capital mean?
Right.
Mm.
Sure. So working capital is essentially the difference between a company's current assets,
Mm-hmm.
like their cash inventory and things like that,
Okay.
and their current liabilities, like bills they need to pay.
Okay.
So it's the money they have on hand to run their day-to-day operations. In SG Mart's case, as they grow and hold more inventory, they need more working capital.
Okay.
This can lead to a temporary dip in cash flow, even if their sales are increasing.
Gotcha. So it's not necessarily a sign of trouble. It's just like a consequence of them growing so fast.
Exactly. Yeah, they're growing pains, essentially.
Okay, so they're trying to win in this really competitive market.
Mm-hmm.
How are they planning to do that? What's their like secret sauce?
Well, their investor presentation outlines what they call their right to win strategy.
Okay.
And they focus on 3 key areas.
Okay, what are those?
So first, they highlight their close relationships with steel producers.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a big advantage for them because their sister company,
Okay.
APL Apollo Tubes, is India's largest steel buyer.
Wow.
Yeah, so they have these deep connections in the steel industry.
Okay, so that's a huge competitive advantage.
Absolutely.
But couldn't other players replicate this? I mean, couldn't they just go out and form their own relationships?
Yes, that's a valid point.
And also, like, what if the price of steel goes up or down? I mean, that could really hurt them, right?
Yeah, you're right. Those are risks they have to manage. But they do have a head start, and they've already got these strong relationships in place.
Right, so it's a double-edged sword, basically.
Kind of, yeah.
Okay, what about the other two advantages?
So their second advantage is their ability to provide financing to smaller players in the market.
Hmm.
This is a segment that often struggles to access traditional funding.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to get a loan from a bank if you're a small business, especially in like a developing country.
Exactly. And SG Mart is tapping into that need. They're offering financing options that are tailored to these smaller players.
Okay, so they're basically being like a bank as well.
In a way, yeah, they're providing that crucial financial support.
Okay, and what about their third strategic focus?
So their third point of differentiation is their focus on building a vast, organized network of service centers, particularly in less served areas. So they're not just an online platform, they're strategically positioning themselves across the country to provide better access and faster delivery.
Gotcha. So they're thinking about the whole supply chain.
Exactly. They're building a robust ecosystem.
That's really smart. All right, so we've talked about their financial performance, their right to win framework. Now let's talk about their most recent strategic move, which is their expansion into manufacturing.
Right. Sounds good.
This move into manufacturing seems kind of bold. Why would they do that?
Yeah, it's a big step. So their filing with the Bombay Stock Exchange says they're going to make metal products and this is interesting, solar mounting structures.
Solar mounting structure.
Like
Like for solar panels?
exactly. Yeah. It seems like they're trying to get into India's renewable energy market.
Okay, so it's a smart move. I mean, solar is growing super fast in India,
Yeah, for sure.
but this seems pretty different from their core business, right?
Yeah.
Like they're a marketplace, not a manufacturer.
Yeah, that's true. But it could create some synergies.
Synergies.
Yeah, think about it. They could sell these solar mounting structures directly to developers who are already buying other stuff on their platform.
Like a one-stop shop.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, but manufacturing stuff. There's a lot that could go wrong.
For sure. They need to figure out inventory, make sure the quality's good, and handle all the logistics of manufacturing and distribution.
Right. It's not like running a website.
Definitely not.
Yeah.
There's also the risk of spreading themselves too thin. You know, can they really focus on the marketplace and build a manufacturing arm at the same time?
Good point. And the filing mentions an investment of $500 million. That's a lot of money.
Yeah, that's a serious investment. It makes you wonder how they're going to pay for all of this. Will they need more investors, or can they handle it with the money they have?
Okay, so the investor presentation also mentions something called networking capital days. What is that?
So networking capital days basically tells you how well a company is managing its money in the short term, like how long it takes them to turn their investments into cash.
Okay, so a lower number is better, right?
Exactly. It means they're getting paid quickly and selling their inventory fast.
Okay, so what's happening with SG Mart's networking capital days?
So their networking capital days went up from 5 days in FY24 to 10 days in the first 9 months of FY25.
So it's taking them longer to get their money.
Yeah, it seems that way.
Is that a problem?
It's something to keep an eye on. It's normal for that number to go up a bit when a company is growing fast, but they got to make sure they have enough cash to cover everything.
Okay, so back to their financing arm. They give loans to smaller players, right?
Yeah, a lot of small businesses in construction have trouble getting loans from banks.
Right.
So SG Mart is filling that gap. They're giving these businesses the financing they need.
Okay, but giving out loans is risky. What if people don't pay them back?
They got to be careful. They need a good system for checking people's credit, and they need to watch the economy closely.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, now what about their brand partners? The presentation showed a lot of big names in construction. What does that tell us?
It shows that they're working with the best in the industry. It gives them credibility and helps them reach more customers.
Right. It's like a stamp of approval.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, now what about sustainability? Is that part of their plan?
Well, getting into solar mounting structures is a good sign.
Okay.
It shows they're interested in renewable energy and a more sustainable way of building things.
But do they have like official goals for sustainability?
They haven't put out a report on that yet, so it's hard to say for sure how committed they are to ESG.
ESG.
Yeah, environmental, social, and governance. That's what investors are really looking at these days.
Right. So we got to wait and see what they do.
Yeah, we need more information.
Okay. So we've covered a lot. Their finances, their strategy, manufacturing, sustainability. What are your main takeaways so far? It seems like they're really going for it.
Yeah, they're definitely not afraid to take risks.
They're trying to be innovative. I like that.
Yeah, and they're thinking about the big picture.
Yeah.
They want to make the construction industry better, more efficient, more sustainable.
Right. It's not just about making a quick buck.
Definitely not. They're in it for the long haul. And that move into manufacturing, that's a big sign of that, especially focusing on solar mounting structures. They're looking ahead to the future of construction.
Right? They're betting that renewable energy is going to be
Yeah,
huge.
exactly. And they want to be a part of it.
But as we've been talking about, there's always challenges when you're growing this fast.
Oh, absolutely.
They got to make sure they have enough cash on hand. They got to make sure their new factories are running smoothly. And they got to deal with all the potential problems in the supply chain.
Yeah. And they can't forget about sustainability either. Investors and customers these days, they really care about ESG.
Right. ESG, environmental social governance. It's the big thing now.
Yeah, companies can't ignore it anymore.
So SG Mart has got a lot to juggle.
Yeah, they do. But they seem to be doing a good job so far. They're thinking strategically, they're moving quickly, and they're willing to change course if they need to.
Okay, so let's bring this back to our listeners for a second. Why should they care about all of this?
I think there's a lot to learn from SG Mart's story, even if you're not in construction.
Okay.
They're showing us how a company can use technology to shake up a really old industry.
And they're doing it in a way that's actually good for the world.
Exactly. It's not just about disruption for disruption's sake. It's about making things better.
Right. I like that. So it's a good reminder that success doesn't happen overnight.
Yeah, it's a journey. There's going to be ups and downs.
Yeah.
But it's how you handle those challenges that really matters.
And for people who are interested in the future of construction and sustainability, SG Mart is definitely a company to watch.
Absolutely. They're leading the way in a lot of ways.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, what's the one big thing you want our listeners to remember?
I think the big takeaway is that SG Mart is at a turning point. They've done amazing things, but now they have to prove that they can keep it up. They got to make these ambitious plans work. They got to manage risks. And they got to keep adapting to a world that's changing all the time. It's an exciting story, and we're just at the beginning.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see what happens next. And for our listeners, we hope you enjoyed this deep dive into SG Mart. We learned a lot about their business, their strategy, and the trends that are shaping the entire construction industry. Keep exploring, keep asking questions, and keep diving deep into the things that matter to you. Thanks for listening.